In a country marked by its rich history and vibrant culture, South Africa has also faced significant social and economic challenges. This documentary explores the evolution of social welfare in South Africa from the 1980s to the present day and the journey towards a universal basic grant.
The 1980s in South Africa were a time of intense struggle. Under apartheid, social welfare was heavily racialized, with resources disproportionately allocated to white communities. The majority of the population, particularly black South Africans, faced severe economic and social hardships.
Generous in terms of the benefits after 1994, and they became more extensive and the number of beneficiaries has grown. But the core elements of the welfare system actually go all the way back to the 1920s to the 1940s, in fact before even apartheid. So these are very, very well established elements of the welfare system. Now, some of my other work, I've looked at the history of these programs, and they were typically introduced to benefit white and what in South Africa are called coloured people, in the relatively privileged groups, and they were quite explicitly intended as a vehicle for discrimination. They were intended to raise the living standards of poor white and coloured people above the living standards of better off African people. So this was...
The end of apartheid in 1994 brought hope for a more inclusive society. The new government launched the Reconstruction and Development Program, known as the RDP, in 1994, and the White Paper for Social Welfare in 1997, aiming to address racial disparities in social welfare services. In 1996, the government introduced the Growth, Employment and Redistribution Policy, known as the GEAR policy, which aimed to reduce government spending and promote economic growth. However, this led to a reduction in social grant, affecting many vulnerable households. Despite the challenges, social grants have become a crucial part of South Africa's social welfare system. Programs like Child Support Grant, Old Age Pension, and Disability Grant have provided essential support to millions of South Africans. The formation of social grants in South Africa dates back to the early 20th century, with the introduction of old age pensions in 1928. Initially, these grants were only available to white and colored people and were extended to Indian and black people in 1944, although with lower amounts. Over time, the system evolved, and by 1994, state old pensions were equal for everyone. The Child Support Grant, introduced in 1998, replaced the state maintenance grant and has since become one of the most significant social grants.
My children at home, they are hungry because we pensioners, we all depend on this sort of money. And there's no money. How my children, how I got to eat now? I'm standing here, I'm hungry. I'm standing from the 5th.
The idea of a universal basic income grant, known as a UBIC, in South Africa has roots in the early 2000s. Advocates argue that a UBIC could provide a safety net for all citizens, reducing poverty and inequality.
The debates that what we mean by a basic income is that every man and every woman and every child at a lower level would receive a regular payment from the state in money form with no conditions. No behavioral conditions. You don't have to do this or that or that or prove something. You get it as an economic right. And it would be non-withdrawable. It would be a permanent citizenship right or a legal resident right. We can come back to the issue of defining what we mean by universalism. But the essence of it is that everybody would have basic income security.
The concept gained traction, especially after the success of COVID-19 social relief of distress, known as the SRD grant, which provided temporary financial assistance to those in need.
There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. Okay. What to do about mass unemployment? This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income. I think it's going to be necessary.
So it means that unemployed people will be paid across the globe.
Yeah.
Because there is no job, machine, robot is taking over.
That's simply and I want to be clear that these are not things that I wish would happen. These are simply things that I think probably will happen. And if my assessment is correct and they probably will happen, then we need to say, what are we going to do about it? And I think some kind of a universal basic income is going to be necessary. Now, the output of goods and services will be extremely high. So with automation, there will come abundance. There will be almost everything will get very cheap.
Because I work on the ground with beneficiaries, I've picked up on a lot of cases where people only maybe have a 200 rand in their bank account and they actually get declined by the government because of their 200 rand in their bank account. Like it's too much, yet the threshold is 624 rand. But the SRD grant used to be the COVID grant before. It was introduced in 2020 when COVID came and a lot of people lost their jobs, and the government came up with a COVID grant, SRD COVID grant, which was 315 2020. By that time, there wasn't any red tape in receiving the grant. If you're unemployed or you were at home during COVID and not earning a salary, because it happened to a lot of people that they were not paid when they were because they were not going to work. So the government thought that was a mechanism for people to cope and put some food on the table.
community, how people are struggling to access this grant, first of all, because, for instance, let's say, maybe you get money in your account, even if it's less than the threshold, you get declined, and sometimes you get declined more than 1 month, and they are regarding that support as income.
The Universal Basic Income Coalition, UBIC, formed in 2023, has been a key advocate for UBIG in South Africa. The coalition includes organizations like #PayTheGrants, the Black Sash, Congress of South Africa Trade Unions, COSATU, and the Institute for Economic Justice, IEJ. These groups have been instrumental in pushing for the implementation of UBIG, arguing that it is essential for addressing the country's socio-economic challenges. As South Africa continues to navigate its social and economic challenges, the journey towards a universal basic income represents a beacon of hope for a more equitable and just society. The path may be long, but the goal is clear: to ensure that every South African has an opportunity to thrive. Towards a basic income grant.
Burn them down,